Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's presentation. Welcome to today's webinar and discussion with GDPR compliance for the Microsoft environment. My name is Parag, and I'm cybersecurity pre-sales consultant at Ingram Micro. And today we're gonna start with a bigger picture on how Quest can help the organization to plan for GDPR and what can be done for the Microsoft consumers. Let's have a look on today's agenda and the topics that we are going to discuss in the presentation. So first we need to understand what are the different complexities incorporated with GDPR. We need to know how GDPR expands the scope of the personal data that needs to be protected and how it affects the company's responsibility. Then importance of having insight and awareness. This is going to be one of the key takeaway from today's discussion. So every organization they have various resources, they have various applications that has access to this personal data. So you need to understand whose information are you storing, where is this information being stored, who has access to it. So where, when, why, and how. You need to understand how your data is distributed inside the environment, because before starting the implementation of GDPR without having awareness or without having the visibility, you'll be flying blind. Then as you put together the governance, risk and compliance, the GRC framework, we're going to discuss how the General Data Protection Regulation or GDPR fits in. Then we're gonna have a look on the shortcomings, the limitations in Microsoft infrastructure, especially when it comes to the cloud solution, and how Quest can help to overcome this limitation. Then we'll be ending with uh, the demo, and I'll be having a brief discussion on how Ingram Micro cybersecurity services and training can help the customers and the business partners. Let's take a step back and look at the industry trends, what is going on with GDPR, and how you are with Microsoft environment prepared for it. So what are the key things that has to be kept in mind when it comes to GDPR is oftentimes when you hear about regulation and compliance, people tend to think it's industry specific, like healthcare or banking sector or financial sector and things like that. But here the key thing is the general data, right? So it doesn't matter if the organization is sizing from small business to large enterprise, or the organization is inside the EU or outside the EU, the rule book remains the same, the penalties remain the same. So every entity that is collecting, processing, or distributing data related to EU individual has to comply with GDPR. You need to understand the usage of the personal data at different levels, at different altitudes, different granularities, how systems are accessing the data. Is the data on premise or on cloud, or is it hybrid? So there are applications user who has access to this data, and you need to know who, when, how is data being accessed. GDPR touches all these different layers. Then let's understand why GDPR must be an integral part of your GRC framework. So GDPR spans all the three GRC components, and it is an example that tells the organization what they must do, but it does not tell you how to do it. So there are three business areas which needs integrated efforts from different departments like legal department, IT department, security department. So they should come together. They should work together to determine the risks. What are the risks associated? They need to define the processes and the security controls based on the data. So guys, so today's agenda of this webinar is to understand what are the limitations when it comes to the Microsoft environments. So let's have a look at the different applications that interact with the personal data like Exchange, Office 365, SharePoint, Active Directory, and things like that. So all these applications, they have their pipes connected to GDPR. So not only what are the different application, but also where are these application hosted, where is this data stored, is it on premise, on physical or virtual computer, or is it somewhere on the cloud, or is it a hybrid environment. So you need to know the architecture as well, right? So not only where are these application hosted, how are the different roles defined to access the data, right? So you remember me saying having awareness and having visibility. Here is the need of having awareness, as most of the application they rely on the Microsoft infrastructure. Then we'll be looking at the areas of improvements. So we're gonna discuss like how Quest can improvise the shortcomings, how we can overcome with these limitations within the Microsoft environments. Now let's start with the Quest Microsoft Platform Management Solutions, which helps the organization to migrate the data, secure that data, and manage the data. Right now, Microsoft they have different application that could be on premise or on the cloud, like Skype for Business, OneDrive, Windows Azure, Exchange AD, and so on. So as an IT manager, I need to have visibility what my administrators are doing on day-to-day basis. Now, not because I want to know as an IT manager, but the CIO of the company, he needs to understand what the IT admins are doing, what are the processes that are in place. Now, this is not because the CIO wants to really know, but he wants to provide this kind of details to the internal auditors. Now, these auditors, they are responsible to deal with the stakeholders, because at the end of the day, they are the person who are going to ensure that the information which is used inside the organization is intact. Now let's understand why Active Directory plays an important role. 95% of the companies they rely on Active Directory as source of authentication, because you have different group policies which are defined on the Active Directory, which you push on the hundred and thousands of Windows workstations. Then you have dependent solutions like our identity access management solution, you have file and folder encryption, you have integration with the cloud offerings by Microsoft like Azure AD or Office 365, and so on. So Active Directory becomes an important member over here. Every solution, they rely on Active Directory, and you have to ensure in an event of failure the Active Directory is available. You need to check the integrity of Active Directory. Let's have a look on some of the use cases which are related to Microsoft environment. In this example, Carl, he is an IT admin and he is an expert on on-premise Active Directory. However, working on Azure AD is a new experience for him. What happens if Carl accidentally deletes the security group which is configured on the Azure AD? So he is not aware like some of the attributes cannot be recovered easily from the recycle bin from Azure AD. So what are the risks here? So first, you'll not be able to easily retrieve the deleted security group. You need to have a better understanding on the PowerShell commands, right? Even though if you are expert on the PowerShell, you cannot restore the group membership within the deleted group. Then again, when it comes to the retention, um cloud solutions from Microsoft, they just provide you the logs for 90 days. They keep the deleted objects only for the 90 days, right? So if you need to go back, if you need to drill down into the logs which are much older than 90 days, you'll not be able to find it. So these are the some of the risk associated with the Microsoft environment. Maintaining the integrity and having a check on the integrity of the data is very essential point. In this example, Hank, he's trying to play smart and he's been causing problem for last few weeks. Now the IT manager, he has given full access on the Active Directory and he has no visibility on what Hank is doing exactly on the Active Directory. So he can just play around, or there could be some legitimate changes on the different attributes of the Active Directory. So here, what are the risks? Like, you don't have the complete visibility because there is no continuous audit which has been done on the Active Directory. So you need to have a solution which facilitates you with all these kind of limitations. Here, Ed Snow is an employee with the Department of Tourism. So, as per the policy, he is not supposed to leak out the sensitive information. Like, he must go through the defined processes before he shares out the personal information, right? But somehow he manages to make the changes in the Active Directory and he leaks out the sensitive information. And this is a very high risk for any organization to fail for a compliance. So this was another good example, like what are the consequences if you don't have the control on the Active Directory. Let's understand how Quest helps the organization to achieve and maintain GDPR in these three areas. Discover and assess. So Quest helps the organization to discover, to assess what are the different access rights given to the user to access the personal data. What are the different applications? What are the different services that are created to have the communication with the personal data, right? So you need to identify the risk areas. You need to do the risk assessment, right? Because you need to identify what are the different personal information that are related to the IT. That could be the biometric information or MAC address, photos, IP address, and so on. So that's the personally identifiable information. That's where you need to have identity and access management solution. But before that, you need to have a discovery inside your environment, then monitor and investigate. So in this, you need to understand what people are really doing. Do not make assumptions, and you really need to know when you're building the policies or workflows or access model within the identity management or the AD itself. Do they really need access to this kind of resources? Then having a continuous monitoring, like what are the changes that has been done on the uh, Active Directory or on the Exchange server, or and so on. For the investigation, when it comes to investigation, the log management is an essential part. So when it comes to Azure AD or Office 365, as I mentioned earlier, the logs are only maintained or retained for 90 days. After 90 days, you'll not be able to retrieve the logs. So you need to have a solution which can collect and store the older data on the in the cloud environment. So once you have the discovery done, once you have the visibility what changes are being done inside the environment, you need to control. And this is a continuous process, by the way, right? So you need to have a control on different permissions or different attributes, like whitelisting and blacklisting of the permissions on the Active Directory elements, and then delegate the admin rights using the least privilege access model. So this is the best way to start up with the identity management. So let's start with the discover and assess. So as I mentioned, it's very essential to understand uh, who has access to what resource. So let's see what how Quest can help you with this kind of scenario. So we have something called Enterprise Reporter. So this reporter will help you to discover and assess, like, who has access to what servers, whether the data is being accessed by the user account or the service account. So this kind of information is given by the enterprise reporter. So I'll be running through a demo as well. Like you can see like how it looks like, what are the different attributes or different features it provides. Second is the monitor and investigate. So when it comes to the monitoring and investigate, as I said, it's very essential to have uh, complete visibility of on the logs that you collect, right? So here is an example of Office 365. Now here, again, when you do some changes like deletion of some object or some attribute, you cannot, also for example, or a group, you cannot recover the group memberships within that group, right? As I mentioned earlier. So it is essential to have something like recovery manager or something like that which can recover the deleted objects within the Microsoft environment that you have on the cloud. Because normally when you have the solution on premise, you have the granular controls on the restoring part, but same is not with the when it comes to the cloud solution. So these are the different features or the different granularities where you cannot get with the solution which are hosted on the cloud. So the quest on demand can help you to recover this kind of different attributes. So it could be the granular register of user attributes, restore attributes not in the recycle bin, which is hard deleted objects, which has bypassed the recycle bin, and so on. So these are the different features that you get with the quest on demand, which you'll not be getting within the Azure AD recycle bin. Okay. Now let's see, like as we mentioned earlier, like you need to have a visibility. You need to know like what exactly the IT administrator is doing when it comes to the Active Directory or when it comes to the SQL Server and so on. So we have something called as change auditor. So this is a tool which gives you the real-time change that has been done on the systems, that has been done on the group membership, and so on. So any user deletion or any modification of the users, if the user has been shuffled from different groups, this tool will give you the real-time reporting of what is happening exactly on your environment, right? So again, I have a demo for this, and I'll be showing you like how change auditor helps you to identify the changes that is being done on the system. So these are the different platforms that change auditor supports, right? Like right from the Windows servers, Active Directory, or your Azure Active Directory, your Office 365, your Exchange server, your SQL server, NetApp storage, EMC storage, and so on. So these are the different targeted devices which can be controlled using the change auditor to give you the complete visibility, provide you the real-time changes that is happening. So guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So anything so far, like you have something on your mind, just let me know. Then we have something called as interest. Okay, so interest basically it's a solution which collects log from different devices. So this is not limited to only Microsoft application, but yes, the other devices like your network devices, your firewalls, your Unix systems, and any other device that generates this log uh, can be integrated with the interest. So interest is not a purely SIM solution, but it helps the Microsoft users granularly see the logs, to collect the logs, what exactly is happening inside the organization. So this again can be integrated with the different SIM solutions like Splunk or QRadar or Oxer, something like that, to do the further correlation. Okay, so this is just I think I have some question over here on the chat window. Okay, so I have a question here from Ahmad saying, how is the platform different from SIM solution? So Ahmad, so when you're talking platform, is it the interest that you're talking, or you're talking about the entire platform? Okay, so interest. So as I said, it's not a purely SIM solution because the capabilities of interest is limited to few of the devices, not all of the devices, because this is specifically designed for the Windows environment. Right? So it does not have the capabilities like correlation or the analytics what the pure SIM solution provides. All right, thank you. Okay, and when it comes to the retention, so this interest, it has a capability of compressing the data by 20 by 1. So you can imagine the amount of data that can be stored, the amount of logs that can be stored. Yeah, so this could be any Windows log, or the SQL logs, or Exchange log, or the logs within the products like Change Auditor or something like that. Now, this security search tool is a free tool. So basically, whenever the user buys like Change Auditor or Recovery Manager, Interest, or Enterprise Reporter, this security search tool comes for free. So what it does is basically it gets integrated with all the Quest solutions, like not all, but the 5 of the Quest solutions, and it acts as a Google search. So if you want to look for a particular IP address, you just type in the IP address within the search toolbar, and it will give you all the events which are related to that particular IP address. Same goes with the users. If you're looking for a particular user within the area, so you just type in the username, and it will provide you all the events related to that particular user. So it's like a tool, it's like a Google search where you can get the information on the fly. So this is very helpful when it comes to the investigation to speed up your process, basically. Okay, so the last facet of the today's webinar is govern and control. So so we need to understand, like once you have the discovery, once you know what are the risks, all right, once you start monitoring like how the policies, or how the processes has is been utilized, you have the monitoring on that. But you need to have something which can control over this. So we have something called Security Explorer. So what it does is basically it it controls the permissions. So these permissions could be on the NTFS, it could be on the file servers, the permissions on the group membership, on the SQL server, or the Exchange server, like role-based access control, and all that. So it controls the permissions. So like with the introduction of Windows Server 2012, they have something called as dynamic access control. So this is basically the audit tool which is offered by Microsoft. But when it comes to the hundreds and thousands of servers, uh, it becomes tedious to manage the DAG, basically. So Security Explorer helps this kind of customer uh, to deploy or to manage the DAC property. So basically what it does is it helps you to control the permissions, like modify, delete, copy paste permissions, and so on the Windows servers. So this can be managed by the Security Explorer. So it supports Windows Server, SQL Server, Exchange, and SharePoint. Yep. Another control that we provide is the GPO admin. So on the day-to-day basis, the IT administrators, what they do is they log into the AD server, they make the changes on the group policies, and they just push it. But there is no control, like who is actually modifying this kind of policies, who is creating this kind of policies. So you need to have a control on that. You need to have a workflow. So GPO admin provides you the workflow where you can create multiple trustees, as approver and as a requester. So as a IT admin, I'll be requesting some kind of changes needs to be done on the group policy editor. Okay, so once the approver approves it, the policy will be enforced on the Active Directory. So it's as simple as that. So you don't have to or the IT admin you don't have to physically log in into the Active Directory server. That could be his own system with the GPU admin tool, where he can just request for the changes for on his day-to-day operations. So I have a demo for this as well. So we'll see like how these different tools in three different areas helps you. So this is in a nutshell showing you like what are the three different areas Quest helps the organizations. Like we have enterprise reporter, we have change auditor, we have interest, we have IT security search toolbar, we have security explorer, we have GPO admin as well. So these are the different tools that Quest provides, okay, for the organizations. And now I'll be starting with the demo in a while to understand like how is it work. So guys, so far any question, just let me know. So this is the change auditor. Okay, I have my Active Directory over here, right? So I have created multiple OUs in different locations like Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and I have multiple departments like HR, IT admins, marketing, sales office, and so far. Now, like as an IT admin, like if I make some changes, so let me create a user 2. So I have done some changes on the Active Directory. So it's so you have to completely have a look like what's exactly happening inside the organization. So with the so you'll come to know like so who, when, what, and when like the attribute was modified. So it gives you the complete information like so who. So this is the administrator on the Active Directory. He had made some changes, right? So where this is the domain controller. So this is the DC, that's the host name of the Active Directory. What has been changed? So it says the user 2 has been created on the Active Directory, and here is the timestamp, like at what time the user was created, and it also provides you the origin uh, or the source of this attribute change. So this provides me the IP address over here. So this is something you get notified in real time with the change auditor. Okay. Also, you can integrate with the SMTP if you have Exchange server or something like that, where you can get the notifications in the real time, like what are the changes have been done on the Active Directory. So now, for example, if I go back to Active Directory, if I change some of the properties, like password never expires. So when I said this, so it's a very high risk for me, right? It's a very high risk for the organization, because as per the policy the password should change periodically. So let's see what Quest Auditor has to talk about this. So Quest Auditor, it says it has flagged this event with high severity because this is a high risk for any organization by setting the property of a user that password cannot be changed. It's a very high risk, right? So these are the different kind of information you get in real time. Okay, same can be integrated with your SQL server and the SharePoint or Action server and so on. So you get the real-time notifications for whatever changes the IT makes on it, right? So this is the enterprise reporter. So this helps you to assess or discover the risk which are associated with the Microsoft environment. So let's have a look on few of the reports. So basically we have a report library on the enterprise reporter, where you can get all kind of reports related to the Active Directory or Azure or Exchange, OneDrive, your registries, SQL Server, and so on. So just So these are the different predefined templates for all the repos which are related to the Active Directory. So here are a few of my repos. So for example, SQL database user. So I have integrated with the with my database, which is being used by the HR. So when I say the database which is related to the HR, so none of the non-HR guys should have access to it. So let's run a report and have a look like what are the different users have access to this database, right? So it gives me the complete information like the database name. It says HR data, okay. So I get to see here like who are the members or who are the users who has access to this HR data or the database HR application, right? So built-in administrator, they are not the right people who should have access to HR data, right? So this is a risk for me. So this is how I identify the current vulnerabilities or current loopholes inside the organization, right? Then we have DBO as well, who has access to the HR data. Then we have guest account as well enabled to access HR data. Then we have user Bob over here. We have user Clark over here. We have David over here. So let's go back like whether this David, Clark, and Bob, whether they are within the group of HR on Active Directory or not. So if you go here within the HR, Clark is a member of HROU. David is a member of HRAU. But when it comes to Bob, he doesn't fall under HR group. So this user is not supposed to have access to the HR data. So this is how you identify the risk within your current environment. So this is just one kind of example how enterprise reporter helps you to identify the risk. So let's move on to GPO admin. Like when it comes to the control of the different attributes related to the group policy editor of the Active Directory, how you can control, how you can create the workflow for the approver and requester. So I'll log in as a requester. So I have a account called Vakanda over here on Active Directory. So I have this GPO admin installed on one of the domain member machine. So this machine is a part of Active Directory, and I have access to the GPO editor through the GPO admin. So when I go to the live environment, click on questdemo.com. So this is the so here I have the default domain policy of my AD. So when I say edit, so here the GPO admin will ask for the justification that why do you need to edit this particular group policy. So I can say like internet Explorer settings need to be changed. Okay. So as a requester, I have provided the justification. Now I'll go ahead and launch the editor. So this is the normal GPU editor, what you see when you log on onto the Active Directory. So you have the computer configuration and the user configuration. When you go to the policies, when you go to preferences, you have the different controls over the different attributes over here. So when I go here, when I click on system, when I so there are multiple group policies that are related to the Internet Explorer. So for example, if I want to uh, turn off the toolbar group upgrade, so I just click on here. It's already enabled. So we'll look on to some other, like hide status bar. So if I want to make some changes within the GPU, click here, apply. I say okay. Okay. So as a requester, I have made the changes. Now let's log off and log on as approver. So Parag has rights to, so this is defined in the workflow where Wakanda is a requester and Parag is the approver. So any changes that has been done by Wakanda, it's been reviewed by Parag, and then only the GPU changes will be applicable. So let's so this is the GPU admin dashboard, which says that you have one request pending over here, which has to be checked in, right? So when you click on the live environment, when you go to the default domain policy, when you say check out, so when you say check in, you have to provide the justification, or you can leave a comment over here, like okay, approved. So this is the workflow, like how we can define when it comes to some changes that has to be done on the group policy edit. So guys, any questions so far? Okay, so we have some. Yusuf, you have any question?
Actually, I have a question. I want to ask about the difference between the Quest tools and the manage engine tools, because they have tools for GDPR.
Basically, now see, now what I discussed over here today is, like, we cover the three areas, like the discovery, then the control, right? Then you need to have complete investigation and monitoring, right? So these are the three different areas where Quest platform helps you. So we have different tools for that. So I'm not sure like what manage engine provides us to. So this is basically to help the organization to plan for GDPR with the Microsoft environment. So it's not that you'll be completely complying with the GDPR. So that's not possible. But it's like a kickstart where you can start planning for GDPR, for implementing the GDPR, because you need to have the insight, you need to have the awareness before you start implementing GDPR. So this is where Quest will help you. Otherwise, you'll be flying blind without having awareness, or without having any insights within your Microsoft environment.
Okay, thank you.
Hi Yusuf, this is Kareem Hindawi, and I'm the product manager for Quest here, and I'm Parag's colleague. I just want to address your concerns regarding Manage Engine, well, basically they are the direct competitor for Quest regarding these kind of tools and backup and endpoint systems management. However, the topic of today is the Microsoft infrastructure tools. We can get you the competitive cards between Quest and Manage Engine. And moreover, can I understand from your question that you are already a partner for Manage Engine?
Sorry, can you read again? Because
Are you already a partner of Manage Engine,
yes,
but not Quest?
that's why yeah, because I want to see if there is any benefits from the Quest. Okay, so we can switch it to this product instead of Manage Engine.
I understand. Well, technically, I hope that Parag addressed your question. But however, we will get you the necessary information to have like an overview on the competitive specifications of both. But I can assure you that from a sales perspective, Quest is less costly than Manage Engine. So maybe that's a point of comparison. Of course, after meeting the technical specifications of your end customers' requirements, so we can say that you have a requirement, and then you can put both Manage Engine and Quest from a technical perspective, and they both succeed. I'm sure that commercially, Quest will be more beneficial than Manage Engine. However, we can discuss this on a later stage.
Okay, great. We can
Thank
discuss
you.
it later.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. So now we'll be moving to the services part.
Hi, everybody. Again, this is Karim. I'm the product manager for Quest, and I'll be talking about our cybersecurity services that we can provide you with as partners for your end customers. We have assessment services around data, applications, devices, and networking. Some of these are penetration testing, vulnerability assessments, source code reviews, and the public discovery scan. Allow me to talk a little bit about the public discovery scan. This is an assessment that we do to find out what information about your end customers is available on the public web, so they can know how much they are exposed on the public web. And this is a very cheap assessment, and sometimes we might be able to give it as free of charge, depending on a case by case. So these can be sales enablers for our vendor products. We start off with the assessments by being vendor agnostic. We don't talk about one specific vendor. And then after the assessment is done, there will be new policies and procedures that should be implemented, or and after these policies and procedures are being concluded by our consulting team, we then assess the situation and start to position products that are aligned with the requirements. And the most important thing is to measure the return on security investment. This is the most important this is the most important outcome that we try to have because of these activities. And on the right hand side, you can see some sample reports around these assessments. Some more services around the governance, risk, and compliance, which is our topic of the day. Information security strategy, data classification. This is where we can talk about DLP as an example. Risk assessment, risk management. This is where we can talk about the tools that we talked about today, change auditor. And for compliance as well, gap assessment and auditing as well, whatever we discussed today falls under these three main categories, and we have consultancy services around these three main categories. So as I said before, we start the conversation being vendor free, if I must say, but I mean, here it's obvious that Quest will come into play after we do the consulting services around governance, risk, and compliance, and the assessment services as well. So these are the trainings. We have end user trainings around foundational cybersecurity, like fundamentals of information security, cyber safe, GDPR foundations and implementation. And we have our own GDPR implementation roadmap that we can discuss whenever you have an end customer who is willing to comply with GDPR. We can help them climb the maturity curve of GDPR. And some certifications that we are certified to train as well, CompTIA, CASP, and the gold standard of cybersecurity, which is CISSP. For risk and compliance as well, we do trainings around ISO 27K, NIST. This is for the UAE only, I'm assuming. And finally, the GDPR requires you to have a data protection, DPO, data protection uh, uh, officer. And this data protection officer should have both CIPP and CIPM. So all of these are trainings for you to consider for your end customers whenever you have a requirement around cybersecurity. Thank you very much for your time today. It was a pleasure having you on our webinar. I'll pass on the microphone to my colleague Jessica.
Hi everyone, I would just like to share a quick activities update for our cybersecurity business unit. So today is an exciting day in Johannesburg, South Africa. Ingram Micro Cybersecurity are launching, and yeah, we have several partners joining us, and we have all of our vendors with us as well who are in that region, who will also be presenting their solutions. Also, if you would like to watch any of the previous webinars we've done, you can head over to our YouTube channel, which is Ingram Micro Cybersecurity, and you could watch last month's webinar, which was Maximize Your ROI. So check that one out, and also keep an eye out for this month's newsletter, which is going to be all about the Internet of Things. And also don't forget that we do always do partner engagement, and we have our public discovery reports, which are free for clients. So please get in touch if you have any questions at all. Thank you.